Hey people, so I have been thinking about this topic a lot that what should you do in your 20s? Should you travel a lot more? Should you work a lot more? Should you try to keep it a balance? Like what is the optimal thing to do? Because a lot of people have this illusion that when you're in your 30s and when you're in your late 30s or in your 40s, you will not be able to do a lot of these things. And that is correct. Because when you're in your late 30s or when you're in your 40s, you don't want to travel a lot more. You have this fixed schedule. Even if you're running a, let's say, $1 billion company, you have this fixed schedule because you have created a life for yourself and you have created a lot of thing for yourself, and it's like a sort of a trap that you have created for yourself. Even if you're running a business, even if you are doing a job, whatever you're doing, if you are on the highest facet of life in all the realms, then your life will be like that you have created this whole system that you cannot get out of it. And that's not a bad thing, to be honest. But when you're in your 20s, you can either travel a lot more, you can either work a lot more, or you can try to keep it a balance, which is the worst thing to do. And a lot of people say that, oh, you can keep it a balance, you can go out on weekends and you can just work all your week and you can do that. But that is the worst thing to do because there's a bell curve, and if you try to keep it a balance, you will just end up in the middle and you will just end up mediocre. So I figured out a thing which is called seasons, and that will help you a lot because it has helped me clear out a lot of things. So there's a thing called seasons in your 20s especially. So there are seasons where you work a lot and there are seasons where you just travel because there is no such thing as balance. So what I have decided for myself is that until an age of 23 or maybe 24, I will just keep working, and keep working. And when I'm 23 and 24 and I'm free, quote unquote free, then I will travel for like 6 months and a year, and I will travel the whole world, and then I will just check off all the checklists that people have. Oh, you have all this money and you have all this thing, but you have not traveled the world. So after that age, I would have done that too, because that is the best thing to do. Because a lot of people have been, especially my dad, has been telling me that you should travel a lot more, and he's not wrong. Because when he was in his 20s, he had to work a lot, not out of any hunger, but out of desperation. And that's why he's the kind of man that he is, which I look up to. But if he had just traveled a lot in his 20s, then he would not have been the man that he is at this moment. He has worked his entire life to be where he is right now. Because as a man, if you don't take stress, if you can't tolerate stress, if you just want to be that backpacker who just travels around Europe, you can be that. There's nothing wrong with it. If you find joy in that, if you find joy in just backpacking and living on $100 a day and just living in hostels, traveling Europe, go for it. Kudos to you. But if you're not going to be the man that people look up to, then you will have to work and you will have to take on a lot of stress. Even at this day, if any person in our family has a problem, he comes to my dad because they know that he's the kind of man who can solve things. He's not the kind of man who will vent about things. He's not the kind of man who will say, oh, this thing is very hard. He's not the kind of man who will just go around the town and tell everyone else how this guy has a problem. He's the kind of person who will solve the thing because he has worked his entire 20s. And I'm not saying that you should not go out in your 20s. You should, but there are seasons for it. If you are, let's say, 20, 21, 22, whatever the age you are, and you don't have a lot of things going on for your life, and you are like, oh, you know what, I will work 4 days a week, 5 days a week, I will work a lot, and then for 2 days I'll just go out. and travel. Mm, Let me tell you, that will not work out really well for you, because the effort and the time that you have compounded throughout those 4 days, you will just drain it all in the 2 days. And I'm counting energy, time, and money, because there are people out there in the market that you are competing who work 7 days a week, 24 hours. And if you're competing against men like that, you will not be able to survive, because they don't go out on weekends, because they are in the season where they just work. They just work. And that's why you should have seasons. You should have seasons where you work. You should have seasons where you chill, quote unquote. And even when you're chilling, I'm not saying that you should just go out there and start doing drugs and just draining your life out there. You should work too, but you can work on a chill level. You know that this is a season, let's say like 3 months. This is a season that, okay, I will just go out more often. But you should also be able to lock in when the time comes. After, let's say, the 3 month period, when the season ends, you cannot be like, oh, you know what? Let me just do it one more month. Let me just do it 15 more days. You cannot be like that. No. I also learned one more thing. When you are in the season of working and when you isolate yourself, you will not become successful just by isolating yourself, because I have seen this a lot. You will get nothing by just isolating yourself. You will just buy back time. Because when you don't go out, when you don't do all those quote unquote fun stuff, you're just buying back time. But if you don't do anything with that time, you just become a bigger loser. Because you are also missing out on the stuff that your friends are doing, and you're also not doing anything with the time that you bought back. So if you're isolating yourself, make sure that you get the most out of those time. Because if you don't get the most value out of those time, then you will just become a bigger loser. Because let's say that you locked in for 6 months and you completely isolated yourself and you did nothing with those 6 months, and let's say that after 6 months you meet your friends or your family or whatever, and you go out your parties, and they will say, oh, what did you do in those 6 months? Then you will have nothing to say, because you did nothing but just watch Netflix at your place. So make sure that when you buy back time, you get the most value out of it. Yeah, that was a big rant. That's it.